Finally, we have a resolution on the Deshaun Watson front. An 11-game suspension has been agreed in a settlement between Watson's camp and the NFL, along with a $5 million fine. Matthew Peterson from Chat Sports here on the Browns Report, breaking all of this down. We've got quotes from Deshaun Watson, the Haslams, and then we've got the second half of this story. Could the Browns be interested in trading for Jimmy Garoppolo now that we know the exact number of games? 11. We'll find out how many games Andrew Berry is comfortable with playing Jacoby Brissett. 6 seemed manageable. Is 11 too big of a number for him to trust Brissett? And could he look to trade for someone like Jimmy Garoppolo? So, some quick pointers I want to get out of the way here early. Adam Schefter with some important details you might be wondering on. Hey, when does Watson get to return to Berea and start practicing with the team? So he will start this 11-game suspension on August 30th. That's the NFL roster cutdown day, down to 53 players. He may return to the team's training facility and participate in limited activities on October 10th, and on November 14th, he can resume practicing, and Watson can play again on December 4th against the Houston Texans. It's an 11-game suspension. It's essentially a 12-week suspension because you don't get suspended for the bye. So here is the entire Browns schedule. First 10 games will be either the Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy Garoppolo, or insert QB here show. And I'm comfortable, even if it is Brissett, for this stretch of games here. 10 weeks, 9 games, I think he can go 5-4 in the stretch. Most backup quarterbacks should go 500. The good ones should. Brissett, he's better than your average backup QB. There's some tough games with the Ravens and the Bengals and the Chargers, and the Dolphins are even frisky this year. So I think 5-4 is somewhere in the ballpark, but we can say that for a conversation for another day. This is the interesting part of the schedule. Deshaun Watson will return Week 13 at Houston against his former team. Something that the Texans were somewhat private but also public about, that they don't want to play Watson this year. I don't know what they expected when they traded him within the conference. They were going to run into him more often than not, but it will be a revenge game for Deshaun Watson in his first game back against the Texans. And then he goes through some tough stretches of games. The Bengals, the Ravens, the Saints are never an easy out. Washington's pretty bad, but I don't know. It's Washington. They can always be weird at the end of the season. And then you wrap up the season, I was about to say at Heinz Field, but it's Acrisure, and one of the worst names in football now for a football stadium. But that is the schedule. So Deshaun Watson plays the last 6 games of the schedule. Just looking at this list right here, I don't want to say what he could go in that stretch because so much can change. You have no idea who the 22 starters will be when Watson takes the field in Week 13, but it's a pretty manageable schedule, right? You're not playing defending Super Bowl champs in that stretch right there. Now, before we get further into the show, I want you guys to get involved early on by giving me your one-word reaction to the Deshaun Watson suspension. Relief, finally, all are acceptable, mad, whatever it is, just sound off in the comment section below. And hey, while you're putting your one word down there, make sure you click on that subscribe button, because if you are a ride or die Browns fan, meaning you are not tapping out this season, this is not a lost season by any means. This is one of the best Browns rosters ever, if not the best Browns roster ever. They can definitely tread water and stay afloat for the first 11 games. So subscribe if you bleed brown and orange. Let's look at Deshaun Watson's statement just a few moments ago. I'm grateful that the disciplinary process has ended and extremely appreciative of the tremendous support I have received throughout my short time with the Browns organization. I apologize once again for any pain this situation has caused. I take accountability for the decisions I made. My focus going forward is working to become the best version of myself on and off the field and supporting my teammates however possible while I'm away from the team. I'm excited about what the future holds for me in Cleveland. I've always been able to stand on my innocence and always said I never assaulted or disrespected anyone, but at the same point, I have to continue to push forward with my life and my career. I wonder if he came up with that statement just now. No, that's definitely been workshopped for a while. listen, we have seen Deshaun Watson, I wouldn't say change his stance or his the way he went about speaking about this, but he's pivoted a little bit because he definitely put on a innocent maintaining that front at the beginning when he started speaking to the media, like during his introductory press conference. Last week, before the Jags game, he apologized, something he hasn't done before. Not that apology is necessarily an admission of guilt, but there's definitely some sort of correlation between the two. Now, D and Jimmy Haslam also just released a statement. Here's what they said. As we have previously conveyed, Deshaun and his representatives have abided by the NFL and NFLPA structure awaiting a final decision, and we have respected the process. Now that a decision on discipline has been reached, we understand this is a real opportunity to create meaningful change, and we are committed to investing in programs in Northeast Ohio that will educate our youth regarding awareness, understanding, and most importantly, prevention of sexual misconduct and the many underlying causes of such behavior. Since Deshaun entered our building, he has been an outstanding member of our organization and shown a true dedication to working on himself both on and off the field. We will continue to support him as he focuses on earning the trust of our community. Someone in Berea needs to turn off the mic when Jimmy and D. Haslam get to the podium. It just sounds very tone deaf when you go up and say, we are now committed to supporting organizations and places in Northeast Ohio that help combat sexual misconduct after you trade for a quarterback with 20-plus civil lawsuits against him for exactly that. Don't you see how the public and others who are very much against this move from the get-go can go, are you kidding me? Now you're against it after you traded for the quarterback? Just turn off the mic for them. Continue to spend the money in free agency. I'm all for that. But when it comes to making speeches and when it comes to making statements, no. Get some scissors and clip the wire. Roger Goodell, here's what he said about the settlement, saying, Deshaun is committed to doing the hard work on himself that is necessary for his return to the NFL. This settlement requires compliance with a professional evaluation and treatment plan, a significant fine, and a more substantial suspension. We are grateful to Judge Robinson, no you're not, and Peter C. Harvey, also not, for their efforts in addressing these matters, which laid the foundation for reaching this conclusion. Roger, you're not grateful to Judge Robinson. You're pissed that she gave 6 games and called you out for your BS here of trying to bend the rules and create new precedents as the game moves along. And she said Deshaun Watson definitely violated the personal conduct policy, but the NFL can't just make up new rules as they go along and invent new punishments for players who have not been found guilty of anything. She called you out on it. You were pissed, so you're like, all right, we're appealing to my buddy, and we're going to make him the designee, and we'll work out a settlement. And I've got some theories on how this settlement got worked out. But first, the second half of the story here. Spam F. Goodell, too, if you haven't already. Jacoby Brissett. He's now in line to start for his 4th NFL team with a career record of 14-23. His one big season was in 2019 when he was the starter for the Indianapolis Colts, playing 15 games, only missed 1 to injury. He went 7-8 in that stretch, and he was good for the Colts. He went 7-8. If you know any Colts fans, ask them about 2019. They will tell you, oh, that was the year Adam Vinatieri cost us a handful of games. So could have been a much better record. Nearly 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Here's my spiel on Brissett. He's going to be smart with the football. He's not going to force it. He'll hold on to it, and he'll take some sacks, and it'll be frustrating because he won't push it down the field necessarily, but he'll also not turn the ball over and make you start pulling your hair out. Now, last year for the Dolphins, he had 5 starts when Tua was hurt, throwing for over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He was cautious with the football, okay? He was a very good backup. He didn't come in there and cost you games. That's not the type of quarterback Jacoby Brissett is. Now, when you got to start him for 11 games, he may not have it in him to lead multiple game-winning drives. That's just not who you're getting in Brissett. And that's fine. That's why he's a backup quarterback. And that's why he's stuck around the league for so long, is that he can be tossed in there and he can keep your team afloat. But he's not going to provide this new motor or engine to speed the offense along and start pulling off miraculous comeback wins or great fourth quarter drives or game-tying field goals. Not really the quarterback you have in Jacoby Brissett, which begs the question, not that Jimmy Garoppolo necessarily is, but could the Browns now be very serious about trading for Jimmy G? When Andrew Berry set off on this odyssey to get Deshaun Watson, I just love how he called it an odyssey, to get Deshaun Watson, he definitely went through a lot of backup options of, hey, if we don't get Deshaun Watson, we lost Baker now, who's the next option? Jimmy Garoppolo had to have been high up on the list. And then there was the flow chart of, we get Deshaun Watson, he's suspended for a majority of the season. Do we want to roll with Jacoby Brissett? At the time, maybe Case Keenum? Or do we want to look to maybe upgrade with a bigger splash like Jimmy Garoppolo? Now, when you compare Jimmy G to Jacoby Brissett in their last 17 starts, which for Jacoby Brissett spans over a little bit of time, but Jimmy Garoppolo will just look at his entire 2021 season, I think it's a pretty slam dunk argument. Jimmy Garoppolo is a better QB. I know some of you guys will disagree with me here and say, no, I like Brissett. He's been with the team all offseason. I get that. But at the same time, Jimmy Garoppolo's a vet. He can pick up this offense, not just in a day or two, but come middle of the season when you've got games against the Ravens and against the Bengals and whatnot, I'd rather have Garoppolo out there, okay? In fact, let's just take them at their best, meaning what's their ceiling? Both guys had their best years back in 2019, and so back in 2019, Jimmy Garoppolo takes the Niners to the Super Bowl, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Give me Garoppolo. Give me Jimmy G. For an 11-game stretch, I'd rather see Garoppolo play than Jacoby Brissett. If it was 6 games, different conversation, because I think Jimmy G wouldn't be able to catch up quick enough for a 6-week suspension. But 11 games, we're talking about football in November here. It's August right now. Jimmy G would be ready to go by November at that point. You see what I'm saying here? I would pick Jimmy Garoppolo, but if you guys disagree, that's fine. I'm not anti-Brissett. I think Jacoby Brissett is a good quarterback. I also think he's a backup, and he's got his limitations. And we have seen Garoppolo, despite not always having the prettiest resume, the guy went to Dallas in the postseason this year and knocked off the Cowboys. He went to Green Bay and beat Aaron Rodgers, the 1 seed in the NFC. The guy's a winner. He gets it done somehow. I'll take a winner with how great this roster is. Now, this is not the first time, of course, that Jimmy Garoppolo has been brought up with the Browns. Mary Kay wrote about this just the other day. Here's what she said. At that point, the Browns will explore all their options. We're at that point now, as they always do in these situations. And Garoppolo is the only accomplished veteran on the market. Given permission to seek a trade by the 49ers, who are turning the team over to 2021 number 3 overall pick, Trey Lance, Garoppolo, 30 years old, can likely be acquired by the Browns for a mid to later round pick. So there is some pushback of, I don't want to pay Jimmy Garoppolo $24 million. Got good news for you guys. You're not going to. Yes, that is Jimmy Garoppolo's base salary for this year. The Browns are not going to pay that. The Niners are absolutely not going to pay Jimmy Garoppolo $24 million to be the backup. They gave Jimmy G, like Mary Kay pointed out, permission to seek his own trade. Why? Because they couldn't find anyone who would take on his contract. So they said, all right, just talk to his agent. You guys can restructure his contract. Tell us the details on the picks. We'll figure that side out. We'll let you guys figure out what he's going to get paid. Because no team is going to take him for $24 million. They'll just wait for the Niners to cut him and sign him, and he'll take $10-ish million. And sure, the Browns are quietly actually paying a handful of quarterbacks right now. You're paying Baker still. You're actually even paying Case Keenum, believe it or not. But Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to make $24 million for any team this season. He will be cut before that happens with San Francisco. He will be restructured in a trade, or a team will sign him for less on the open market. At the end of the day, give me Garoppolo. I think Jimmy G, over an 11-game stretch, gets you more wins than Jacoby Brissett. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. I want more wins. And with Garoppolo, I believe you're going to get that. Yes, Brissett has been working with the team for the entire offseason. He's in a better spot to start week 1 as it stands right now. But when it's against tougher teams, like I said, when you've got to go up against the Bills, the Bengals, the Ravens, big AFC teams that you're going to be fighting with when it comes to the playoff hunt later in the year, I trust Jimmy G in those games more than Jacoby Brissett. But I'll let you guys decide. This is what we do here at Chat Sports. It is a democracy. You guys have just as much of a say as I do. Should the Browns trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down in the comment section below.